We will call to order the Monday, June 23rd, 2014 meeting of the Gladstone City Commission. First item on our agenda is invocation, which Commissioner Mattinen will lead us in. Please rise.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to meet tonight, and we're thankful for each one that's made the special effort to come out. And Father, as we look at tonight's agenda, we just pray for your wisdom and your discernment to make the best possible decisions for this community. We love you and ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a substitute city clerk tonight, Renee Barron. We were promised it would be a lovely replacement, and it's correct. Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Gay,
Here.
Commissioner Bostwick,
Here.
Commissioner Mattinen,
Here.
Commissioner Nemechek,
Here.
and Mayor Mackey.
Here. Next item on our agenda is public comment. If anybody in the audience would like to comment, would you take the podium, tell us your name and your address? Well, we know who you are, Mr. Hughesby.
Yeah, well, I got this little red slip here
What's
for the
that?
parking thing.
What is it?
It's parking ordinance violation.
You did.
Yeah. And I
Okay.
drive around town and I see all these campers and boats parked where they're not supposed to be. I would like to know why I got one and they did not.
Frankly, I don't know, so I'm going to ask the city manager if she knows.
I mean, was it why I was so vocal against this thing that I got
I
one
hope
and no one
not.
else did?
I don't think so.
Well, then how come I got one?
I know of one other person that got one.
Well, I complied, and now I drive around town, and I must see 25, 30 people not in compliance, but I gotta be in compliance. Why?
I don't blame you for asking the question. I don't know the answer at this point in time, but if you will follow up on that tomorrow with the city manager?
Well, I'm working, so, and I'm not allowed to use the phone when I
Well, I'm
work.
assuming this is important enough that you brought it to our attention, so you're going to want to follow up.
Well, I can't, because I can't use the phone while I work. It's in violation of my,
And obviously, we don't issue
Employment.
the citation, so somehow we've got to get some
Can I
some
leave you a
homework done.
message, like how many other people I can get with my code enforcement person?
well, I wanna know is how
How
come,
many has he issued?
well, he's gotta issue a lot of them, because he drove around. I see lots of boats, there's a couple of them down the street from me, and there's even one right next to this guy.
But you
This-
want to follow up on this, right?
Well, I wanna know, am I gonna get a ticket if now I got my camper parked
So
back
you want to
there?
follow up from the city manager, correct?
Something I want.
Okay. Can you?
Yep.
She will follow up with you tomorrow, and she'll let us know what the results of that follow-up were.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cassandra Howard, and I am here on behalf of the Delta County Jaycees. And we are seeking permission to utilize Van Cleef Park and the pavilion for our duck races this August 23rd.
Which isn't on our agenda tonight, so I'm assuming staff hasn't spoke with you about that?
No.
You need to fill out the special permit, the
Okay.
special event permit, and then on there you'll identify what you need, from Parks and Recreation or DPW, what resources we can help you with, and
Okay, and I get that from City Hall?
City Hall, it's on our website.
Okay,
Give us a call, we can fax it to you, email it to you.
okay,
Okay?
great, thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Have a good night. Anybody else? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda, which consists of the City Commission regular meeting minutes of June 9, 2014, and payment of bills, which we have in front of us.
I move we approve as presented.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Mattinen, supported by Commissioner Gay to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, that motion is carried. Next item on our agenda is public hearings, of which we have none tonight, so we're moving to unfinished business, which is tax discussion, which is a fairly large document that's been presented to us tonight. Darla.
This is a follow-up from the special meeting, May 19th, that we had. That was also called tax discussion. So I'll just, if I can read the motion from that, and then I'll identify on the pages this, the information. Motion by Commissioner Nemechek, seconded by Commissioner Gay to determine how many mills it will take to renovate City Hall, hire and sustain another public safety officer, build a DPW facility, and replace the fleet and purchase a new fire truck. In addition, present the balance in the electric department that can be utilized for expenditures. City manager is to prepare a response for the June 23rd, 2014 commission meeting. So, just to kind of recap, general fund sources, taxes, state shared revenue, and program revenue. The next slide is the L3029. This is a document that comes before the commission every year. Usually the first meeting in June. This time it's the second meeting in June because we've had some discussion, regarding what to levy and what can we legally levy and what it's for, all that kind of stuff. So put this in your packet. This calculation is done by, and this form is prepared by our assessor, Vicki Esch. She has the calculations to do the Headley rollback to determine the amounts in column 10 there.
Before we go over that, for the public and for the commission, we've been levying $13.68, 13.68. It's basically, to put it in layman's terms, that'd be the cost of a gallon of milk. We have the authority tonight, without going to a vote, to levy an additional $1.82. We have complete authority to do that by a motion tonight. So that is part of the answer to the question I think Commissioner Nemechek was looking for in terms of how much millage we could levy if we determine we wanted to levy more millage. You'll see later on where we could levy even more if we had a vote of the people to override the Headley Amendment to the Constitution, which is a 1978 law, I believe. So this is part of that overall 3.32 mills that you're going to hear about later on tonight, but there is complete authority of the commission by motion tonight to levy 1.82, which raises what, 188 and some odd $1,000 for our general fund. Continue.
So you'll see this document every year. Next page, the 2014 L4029, that was on the previous page. Like Mayor Mackey just said, 13.6785 and 1.8236. And the only reason we point out the 1.8236 is because we were under the assumption that that was for garbage collection only.
That's what I was always told. I was always told when we were levying 15 mills, and let me back up. When we were levying 17 mills, that the 15 was our charter authorization and 2 mills was for garbage pickup. Comes to find out that's not true. It was just part of our operations.
So working with our attorney, Terry Burkhart from Butch Quinn, helped us find that answer. So just a little, the last 2 years, in 2012 is when it started, we thinking that was for garbage collection. In 2012, we did not levy the 1.8236 mills on the tax bill. In turn, we charged all the garbage collection fees on the monthly utility bill. In 2013, we did not levy the 1.8236 mills either. This is the next chart. This was from the last meeting as well, saying other city millage rates in the UP.
I think you should read those so that the audience knows
Sure.
a comparison, please.
In the city of Sault Ste. Marie, they levy 21.96 mills. City of Kingsford, 21.54. City of Manistee, 18.66. City of Iron River, 19.52. City of Marquette, 17.26. City of Ishpeming, 16.39. City of Norway, 18.5. City of Escanaba, 17. And the budget we put together this year was, the millage rate we were looking for was 13.6785. So with the 2014 taxable value at each of the rates there, so the 13 mills will generate $1.4 million. The 1.8 is not in this year's budget. If it was levied, it would be an additional $188,000.
That wouldn't be completely for the general fund, though. Wouldn't the DDA capture some of that?
Yeah,
Not much.
not much, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. 2015 fiscal year.
And just to recap for the commission and for the audience, our budget for the general fund this year has a deficit, correct? Didn't we have a deficit in the operating budget for the general fund this year?
Well, we balanced it with,
Fund
We
balance.
transferred
28,000.
28,000.
So from prior fiscal years, we're taking $28,000 from the buildup of prior fiscal years to balance this year's budget. So you see where you'd be going. You'd be going in you'd be building fund balance. If you didn't spend the total levy, that 188,000, or if you propose to levy that 1.82 mils tonight, you could also revisit the budget and start looking at some things that we've been kicking the can down the road and not doing.
So the next slide, just for information, if the city wanted to ask the public for a Headley override, to go back up to the full 17 or 15, if you just wanted to do that one line item, that would take a vote of the people. That's not a commission decision. If that were the case, and it was passed, I'm just pointing out the difference between 17 mills that we could levy if approved in the current year's budget, 13.6785, that would be an additional 3.3 mills, or $343,000. This is a slide from the last time, what we had identified. So the
That's
last,
the total cost of doing these projects, which you're going to break down into a yearly basis.
right. So I think Commissioner Nemechek asked, what would it take a year to fund these things? If we could put 40,000 into City Hall for the next couple years, we still haven't done anything with the windows. We need to do some electrical upgrades, tuck pointing to preserve the exterior of the building, stuff like that. Public safety officer, year one would be more than 83,000 because of training and outfitting and all that kind of stuff, but on an annual basis, about 83,000. DPW building, that was 1.5 million financed out. Our annual payment would be about 82,000. The aging fleet, I don't have the detail on the aging fleet, but I kind of went by the fire truck discussion. Director Paul Geyer and his committee is working on pricing a new truck and some gear, and their estimate was 400,000, financed over 15 years. That would be 34,000 annually. If we could get 400,000 worth of fleet financed somewhere, and that payment should be roughly the same, 34,800 annually. So the total of these is $274,600. The next part of the discussion from May 19th was the net cost of Parks and Recreation. So I just went back 5 years, revenue so we just lump revenue together from the harbor and the campground and all the different areas. Identified revenue from Dr. Mary Cretin separately, because that's, hopefully the market stays good and we continue to get that, but there was a year that we didn't receive any money from that. And then combining all the expenses, I just want to point out, we did pull the harbor out of all of these years because now the harbor's in its own fund. So, prior year profits could have went to benefit a different department, so we pulled the harbor out of this. And so 2010 net cost of public safety, 232,000, 140,000, 191, 228, and 246.
You mean Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec, I'm sorry, what did I say?
Public safety.
Oh, I'm sorry. Parks and Recreation.
So that's the presentation from staff. I think that
There's one-
commission, there's one more thing?
The electric fund,
Oh,
present cash balance for the electric fund. I went back 3 years, and 2014 isn't audited yet, but In 2011, we had 1.6 million in electric fund cash. 2012, 1.7. 2013, 2.3. So we have put some into fund balance there. And we kind of go by the previous superintendent of the electric department, 1.5 was his comfortable minimum. And 2014 isn't audited yet, but, I mean, we know the estimated cash balance, but.
But there was a reduction because of the public safety building.
Right,
There was a significant reduction in,
400 and some
Cash.
thousand, yep.
so are you estimating 1.9, 1.8,
Um,
2014?
I pulled these from the audit, and I, since we don't have a 2014 audit, I
Okay.
didn't pull a cash balance from,
That's all we,
Financial
that's all we
statements.
pulled from electric was the public safety
Pay off the
building?
building.
I think so.
Okay, so we should be around 1.9 roughly,
Oh, 100,000 for the harbor project,
the match.
which was recently, yeah.
So 1.8 likely then, from 2.3 roughly. Plus, well, you have, okay. It might be more than that, actually.
So, we have complete authority tonight, and this comes up later in our agenda, the tax rate request that we're going to request the citizens pay. We have completed authority to levy another 1.82 mils. Whether that's advisable is a discussion I think we need to have, but we have authority to do that. We could, if we went next year for a Headley override, because it's not recommended that we even think about that now, it's at short notice, there would be an additional almost 1.5 mils that could be levied if the citizens restored the full tax rate back to 17 mils. I think this gives a pretty good idea to the commission about what additional revenues, how much additional revenue could be gained by levying more millage. And I had a conversation with the city manager this morning about if the commission is going to look at supporting something like this, I think it should have a dedicated use. I don't think it should be just used for operations, because frankly, I've told you guys a million times, in the 10 years since I've retired, we haven't replaced a major piece of equipment. We told the firemen to start planning for a fire truck that we really don't know how we're going to pay for. We do know we need a new public works building. There's no arguing that we need a new public works building, and we know that the streets, the condition of our streets is not keeping up with well, the condition of our streets is not keeping up with their deterioration. So I think it would behoove us to take a look at new revenue in that sense of where you're going to dedicate that new revenue. Because if I was a taxpayer, you asked me what I thought about levying more revenue, the first thing I'd want to know is, what are you going to do with it? So,
Well, and that's kind of my problem with it is, as a commission, if we were to do that, how could we possibly restrict those funds to be directed to where
Yep.
we intend them to go?
absolutely.
Beyond our tenure on this commission, we have no control over that.
Right,
It's all general fund dollars.
right. Commissioner Nemechek?
I'd first like to clarify the electric fund. You were saying that it's 2.3, why isn't it 2.3? What's subtracted from that? Commissioner Gay was talking about
We paid off the public works, the bond on the public works building, and
Public
we
safety-
made a
safety
contribution.
Safety building.
And we made a contribution towards the harbor project.
yeah, but is that already out of that fund, or is that what?
It's out of it as of today, but this is as of 3/31/13, 2.3 million.
Yeah,
I had.
what would you guess it is today?
1.8, right?
Can you grab a trial balance for me?
Well, there may be a profit on it too. That's why I said if
Yeah, I
you
understand.
pull a $500,000 out, puts you at 1.8,
Well,
but if
I
there's a
was told at
profit.
one time too that fund grows at the rate of 250,000 a year approximately.
It's a number I
But it
remember.
hasn't in the past, though. I mean, from
No, I
11 to
understand.
12.
But
It
it did.
depends on how many projects we do in a year. The year we bought the bucket truck, that was a large, cash drain.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I remember 250,000 a year. I recall
that's
that.
what I remember the figure being.
Yep.
It's important to note right now, since you brought up the electric fund, because I hear this a lot from people, and I think it's a very legitimate thing I hear is, comments about the transfer from the electric fund to the general fund, because we all know the general fund is not growing. There's no new tax revenue. There's very little in the way of new construction, and the state is no longer a full partner in revenue sharing. So the projects we started when we used to have those types of revenues, which I just outlined, we're still attempting to provide most of those services with a lot less revenue. And so I hear comments on the street about the cities making transfers from the electric fund to the general fund, and you can go either side of that. I'm not attempting to say it's good or bad. I would say, however, that the electric fund, which is a very profitable entity, probably $250,000 a year, that's the number I remember, over and above expenses, has been able to continually reinvest in the electric utility so that it continues to produce a profit. I don't think anybody could argue that that's true. So unless there's any other comments on this particular matter, I think we go back to the agenda, because we have an agenda, and at the end of our agenda, we're going to have to determine how much millage we're going to levy this year. Unless there's other comments from other commissioners.
The 1.8 mils would account for, if the average home in Gladstone was $100,000, you taxed on $50,000, which would mean an additional $90. Is that correct?
Technically, that's not true, because the average $100,000 home may not have a taxable value of $50,000. But if you had a taxable value of $50,000, it would be what?
Would you guess is the average taxable value of a home in Gladstone? 80,000?
I can tell you this, yours and mine is much higher than the average, so
I
it's going to
understand
cost us
that.
a lot more, because I already
understand
checked it
that.
out.
I understand that, but
I don't know. I think probably 40 to 50. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. I didn't ask. There's a program in the assessment roll that could tell you
40 or 50.
what the average is. I would say $40,000 to $50,000. So 50,000 is $90 a year.
$90 a year.
Yep.
And if a person were, say, for instance, lower income, they would probably live in a less expensive home. And so it would probably be maybe half of that or something like that.
Well, there's also income tax programs in the state of Michigan that rebates a portion of your property taxes back that you get levied if your property taxes exceed a certain part of your income. And I even know the formula when I've got the form in front of me, but don't ask me to quote it right now. So there is protection in the law for folks who are low income to some extent. Also, there's even greater protection, frankly, for senior
So-
citizens on a fixed income.
So the long and the short of it is the 1.8 mils is not going to really be an undue burden to almost everyone.
The only comment I'd have on that is if we don't have growth right now, and it's hard for me to picture how this is going to help with growth, how it's not going to be a deterrent to even less
Well-
investment. So, and that's that's the biggest part that I'm concerned about.
My opinion is that if we as commissioners don't at least levy the additional amount of 1.8236 that we can, we're not doing our job.
Well, that's coming up later in the agenda, so we're going to have a vote.
When does it come up?
It's right here, tax rate request,
Section
D on new business. Once a year, we have to fill out the L4029 form after a vote of the commission saying how much millage do we want to levy, and that's what
Oh, okay.
D is. So
All right.
it's going to come up. So if there's no other comments from the commission? There is.
And just one comment. I know at the time that we had reduced the millage in lieu of a fee for trash or garbage pickup, I think, most of us on the commission at that time thought it was a pretty good idea, and I think staff did as well. In hindsight, if I had to do it over again, I think I wouldn't have reduced the millage. I think it's probably hurt our city more than helped, and but that's hindsight. So
Well, the only thing with that is that millage wasn't coming into the general fund. That millage was for solid waste.
correct.
So realistically, and this is why I like the way we did it. A guy that has a $200,000 house was paying 4 times as much for the exact same service as a guy with a $50,000 house. That's why we went to the fee-based program. But had we left it that way, we still would not have any net effect on the general fund, because that's when we still had the solid waste fund.
That's true.
So it really
Yeah.
wouldn't have helped anything. You know, I think it's at least more fair now that somebody pays a net, which by the way is what, $18 cheaper than the cost for the township for solid waste removal if you live in the township. At least it's at least fair now.
Yeah, I agree with that comment. I think the fee structure for the trash pickup was a great idea. I just think that we should have left the millage intact for the general fund. That's where I was going with that.
I see, and I agree. At that time, I thought that was only for. I thought that was only. I didn't know we had that option at that point. I don't think any of us did.
Well, there's no right answer on this. No matter what
No.
the vote's going to be, there's going to be people who say it's a great idea. There's going to be people who say it's not a great idea. I can tell you this: I am really concerned about growth. I think in our general fund, which is where our property taxes go, we have two services that we provide that are more regional than local, and we're not recouping the cost from the actual users of the system. I've made the comment before, and I'll make it again. The sheriff has made this comment as well. That the state police, even though the governor said the state police would have the same amount of troopers on the road, the fact of the matter is the state police is much thinner on the road. The city picks up the slack for that. There's no reimbursement, and there's no reimbursement formula for that. So when we take calls outside the city because the state can't take them and the county's already tied up, it's not really fair to city residents. The Parks and Recreation Program having a net cost is not really fair as well. There was a time not that long ago when most people did live in the city, and so it was a moot point. Now we've got less people living in the city, and so if this hinders further our lack of growth in our taxes, it probably is predictable. But we will have the vote and we'll determine how much we're going to levy this year. I think it's more defensible if you have, like I said, if you said to a citizen, okay, these are the things we're not able to take care of with our current tax rate. So 1.8 mils would start restoring some of the things you can't take care of with your tax rate. If someone still insists that you not levy that additional 1.8 mils, then what they're really saying is you need to find other ways to cut costs to address those things you're not doing that you know, basically, if you don't paint your house is going to fall apart, right? So you got to keep paint on your house. Well, it's kind of the same thing. There are some things we're not doing and we haven't done for at least 10 years that are becoming critical. Moving on to new business. First item on new business is,
Before we get into that, did you want to amend the agenda and add
what do you want?
city manager discussion, or
For this matter?
no?
Oh, what are we talking about? I'm not sure what we're talking about here.
To discuss priorities and stuff
An
with the
executive
manager?
session?
Mhm.
If you want to. Okay, I like to add an item to the agenda. We have a personnel matter. We'd like to go into executive session at the end of new business.
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Commissioner Gay, supported by Commissioner Mattinen. To add item E, that will be, right? Executive session to discuss a personnel matter. All right, back to new business. The DDA storefront.
Vote.
All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, that motion is carried.
And I missed the motion.
Commissioner Gay made the motion, supported by Commissioner Mattinen. All right, new business, DDA storefront, 803 Delta Avenue.
And then you slipped one in on me, I missed it. The DDA recently approved 2 facades for Deborah Lordson for the building at 803 Delta Avenue. We haven't had a facade grant come through in a while, so just as a reminder for everybody on the commission, included in there is the agreement that the city enters into with Ms. Lordson. The final approval for the money to be utilized out of the account has to come from the commission, so that's why we present it to you. But essentially, she is putting work into the building in the amount of $16,400. The grant will supply $12,300 of that, and she will match with $4,100.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Move to approve the release of funds for this grant.
Support.
Motion Commissioner Gay, supported by Commissioner Nemecheck, to approve the DDA storefront at 803 Delta Avenue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion is carried. Next item on our agenda is, we've got some bills that haven't been paid that customarily notices is sent to the people who owe us the money for various things that we're gonna put on the tax roll if the bills aren't paid, so there's a,
Vicki,
I would say a normal list in front of you tonight.
My treasurer would be here presenting this, but she's home with a sick child, so I said, that's where you need to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we gave the history there back to 2010. It kind of fluctuates. This year, we're looking at $35,891.94 in delinquent utilities. Just over 2,400 in miscellaneous invoices.
Comments, questions?
That's normal procedure, is it not?
Yes.
Also move.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Nemchek, supported by Commissioner Mattinen, to approve the delinquent list of utilities and other miscellaneous bills to be applied to the summer 2014 tax roll. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion is carried. We have the next item on our agenda is to extend the 2014 summer tax due date, which is also very customary ever since I've been around here.
It's in our charter that our due date is August 15th, but we've always extended it to somewhere around the 15th, the 14th, depending on weekends or whatever, sometimes the 16th. This year, the 15th falls on a Monday, I believe, so we're looking to extend it to September 15th, 3 p.m.
I'll move that we allow the summer tax due date to be Monday, September 15th at 3 p.m.
I second it.
Move Commissioner Mattinen, supported by Commissioner Bostwick, to extend 2014 summer tax due date. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion's carried. Now we get to vote on how much millage we want to levy this year. And I don't think we need to go over this again because we've talked about it quite a bit. So you're basically looking at the form on page 2, which says we can levy 13.6785 mills, and we can also levy another 1.8236 and stay within the legal authority. Questions?
I would, it's kind of funny, we've talked before about how, you know, through these discussions of trying to get another public safety officer and other items that staff doesn't trust commissions, and I agree with them 100%.
So do I.
I you know, and that, I guess that's my biggest problem with this is, how do we guarantee that future commissions are gonna utilize this money for what it's intended for? You know, at least through a millage
Well, there's
process.
one thing you can do is as long as you stay a resident of this community, you can be a thorn in their side.
I'm good at that, but
That's what I mentioned.
But I guess, you know, as far as a millage, a millage would permit one to restrict those funds for a specific purpose. Where this is kind of, you know, this is just kind of throwing another 1.8 into the mix, and future commissions could do whatever they like with it.
Well, not necessarily, because if we started a public works building, the payment would be there. If we bought a fire truck, the payment would be there. If we did the city hall renovations, the payment would be there.
Where's the easiest place to cut? Where's the first place in the event that we had another economic downturn, where typically, historically, throughout the country is the first place that they
Payment
cut?
would be there, though.
The payment for the equipment would be there. But
Payment
what I'm
for the
saying
building
is,
would be there.
right, but what I'm saying is, as far as a public safety officer is concerned, historically, typically, that is the first place where municipalities cut, because if for some reason it's fire and police is where they typically cut. And what I'm saying is, if we were able to go through a millage process and do this, we could restrict those funds for public safety specifically.
You mean a millage that's voted on?
Correct.
This cannot be restricted in any way?
I
No.
don't see any way to restrict this 1.8, no. I mean, as long as we're on the commission, obviously we have control of where it goes, but beyond that point, the only way to guarantee that those dollars are going towards public safety or, you know, whatever portion of that millage is supposed to be dedicated for, we would, you know,
But if we do nothing, we're kicking the can down the road even further. And I don't think we're doing our job when we start kicking cans down the road. I think we have to face up to the fact that that the city of Gladstone needs more revenue.
the question becomes what.
Since I've been here, I've talked to all the managers, all the department managers, I've talked to a lot of I mean, there's fatigue in this place. That's perhaps dangerous in some places. There's not very good morale. I understand the city at one time had over 50 employees, now we're down to 37.
That's correct.
You can't cut the city any more than it's cut. It needs to be, these are things that have to be done. And we have an opportunity to generate some more cash. I think we should take 80% of the increase in the electric fund too, and get the job done right. I think it's crazy to have all that money sitting in the electric fund when part of the increase, I'm not talking about even robbing the corpse, part of the increase could be used for these kind of things, and we'd be in line. To think that the city of Gladstone should have to operate at 13.5 mils when the rest of the world is between 17 and 21 is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Technically, we're supposed to have a motion and a second on the table before we debate it.
I'll make the motion that we approve and levy the 1.8, whatever it is, 36 mils.
8236.
Yes. I don't think we're doing our job if we don't.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Nemecheck, supported by Commissioner Mattinen to levy
That's for the year 2015, is that not correct?
14.
14.
That would come immediately
That'd be levied
with
this
the
summer.
summer tax?
This summer, yeah.
Okay.
To levy the 13.6785 plus the 1.8236 mils. Discussion.
That would be a total of 15.5 mils, which would still make us the lowest city millage of the whole chart.
The only problem I have with comparing it to cities is our competition is the townships that surround us, and they're not living anywhere near that much, and they're not attempting to provide those services. That's where the competition is, and that's frankly where the new homes are being built. And that says nothing bad about townships, because I like them, talk to them regularly, but we need our share of growth as well. And so that's the biggest concern I've got when we levy more millages. How's it going to help us with our growth situation? I do, however, also think that the city has a marketing problem. I think that you would think logically that if the services are superior in the city compared with what I've identified as our competition, you would think that properly marketed, that homes would retain their value and you'd get more new construction, and we're not seeing that. We hear lots of examples where we compare the cost of solid waste removal with outside of the city. We compare the cost of electricity in the city versus those who are not hooked up to the city system outside the city. And there's some other examples which I'm at a loss to come up with right now. And I think that if the city were doing more marketing about the benefits of living in the city, that perhaps over time, and it wouldn't be overnight, that you might reverse the lack of growth in the tax base. I never experienced a lack of growth in the tax base when I worked here. It was just normal that we'd get to 2 to 3% every year increase in the taxable value, which we're not getting anymore.
There's not that much undeveloped land, though. I mean,
Oh, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. There's lots of undeveloped lots in the city, and there are some prime properties that haven't even begun to develop. They don't even have infrastructure to them yet along the waterfront. That's a subject for another discussion.
Okay.
But coupled with that 2 to 3% increase in taxable value on the existing homes, you could count on 10 to 15 new homes every year, and we haven't been seeing that. And then the state, in their infinite wisdom, decided to become far less of a partner with the revenue that they share,
You know, that's
while
another-
at the same time they're running a surplus.
So this 1.82 mils, would that be put on the summer one? or
The
is
summer
it
of this year,
combined?
the summer
Will
of
it
this
be the
year.
summer
That's
and
when the
winter
city,
one?
that's when the city levies
just
their
the
millages
summer?
in the summer, yeah.
Okay, they get this
Yep.
millage in the summer.
The winter is a lot of other taxing units.
Okay.
I guess, I was on the commission when we decided to make the change and drop this 1.8 off and go to the fee-based schedule. And I guess maybe my biggest problem is at that point, you know, we did what we did, and, you know, we justified it by saying, okay, we're reducing the millage, and we're making it fair by a fee-based system. It's equal for the same service for everybody. To go back and reissue that, especially under, you know, maybe if we had the information back then, maybe we would have done something a little bit different, but right now, the premise was we were reducing the taxes, going to a fee-based. Certain people would see reduction in taxes, but for the most part, everybody would pay the same. I guess I just don't like this without the permission of the people, is my biggest problem. We have, no matter what she writes, the headlines tomorrow are gonna be, Gladstone raises taxes if this passes. I guarantee it. And it may not have anything to do with her, but somebody's gonna write the headline, Gladstone raises taxes. Now, we've been fighting a perception that taxes and everything in the city of Gladstone is too high, nobody can afford to live in Gladstone. And the reality is, if you break everything down, that's not true. So I guess I would be more inclined to ask through a millage process, so we can, one, restrict the funds, and two, actually.
Can I stop you for a minute there?
Sure.
In front, so the public hears this and the TV hears this, because the commission is aware of this, but it hasn't come up tonight. Staff gave us the option of waiting till next year and saying, you know, this is food, because we can do this again next year. We can levy this 1.82 next year if it's too soon for us to make a decision tonight. So, take back the floor.
Well, I would prefer to ask the public and, you know, specifically earmark the additional levy for the services that we're saying we're running out of dollars to pay for. You know, and at that point, as I indicated earlier, we would then be able to restrict those dollars so that future commissions couldn't pilfer them and use them for other items.
That is why I asked the city manager to detail what we would use some of this money for, and that's what we have tonight in front of us, where the city manager went through and said, okay, if we wanted to start doing something about the fact that we're not keeping up with the city hall renovations that were identified in the study, we're not keeping up with the replacement of our equipment fund fleet, we're not keeping up with, or we don't have the wherewithal right now to replace the public works building, we don't have the wherewithal right now to replace that fire truck that we told the firemen to start planning on, because we know we have to find money to buy a fire truck, that this would begin to address some of that. And so that's why that was presented to us tonight. I hear both sides of the argument, however.
It should also be reminded that in our last information, we had this dollar bill. And this little part right here is what the city of Gladstone gets to keep when you get your property tax bill. City of Gladstone gets to keep 24%. Vast majority of it goes to the school. School taxes in Gladstone are very high.
They're high for our competition as well, Dave. People who live outside the city are paying the same millage.
I understand that. But I think sometimes we have to remind ourselves that when you pay $1 of tax to the city itself only gets to keep 24 cents. The other thing that should be put into the mix, and I've mentioned it before, is that if in fact we don't increase our revenue, if we don't pass this, it's likely in the future, if we can't have a full-service public safety department, our insurance rate's gonna go down. When our insurance rate goes down, premiums for your homes go up. And I can assure you, after talking to a couple agents, they go up a lot more than on average of $80, $90 a year.
I did some figuring on this total, just FYI. The $90 a year amounts to $7.50 a month. And that's on $50,000 assessed value, correct?
Correct.
If we asked for a Headley override, we couldn't do it in November? We'd have to wait till 2015?
I don't think it would be advisable. I don't even know if we have time.
I don't.
I know
I
we
think if
missed
we-
August for sure. I think we missed the November deadline as well.
Plus, we've had advice, it's just food for thought from staff before, that if we're going to attempt to do this, that we do it right and we not put together a ballot question as fast as we can, that just makes no sense. And that's from, frankly, I'm not taking anybody's side in this matter, that's from the people who benefit the most, which would be public safety. As far as Commissioner Gay's concerns about where this money is going to be used, I think public safety had a much greater concern about using electric fund money, which I do not support. I don't think that makes any sense. I think that means your rates are too high. But there are those who would say you could do that, and I think public safety was far more concerned about whether a commission would continue that trend of taking an appropriation every year out of the electric fund compared to a sustainable millage, if that helps. So unless there's new comments, I think it's time to call a question, gentlemen. No new comments? All right, we have a motion on the table to levy the 13.6785 mils and the additional 1.8236 mils that we have authority to levy this year. All those in favor of that question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
I think that passes on a 3-2 vote. We are up to city managers' reports.
Last Monday, we had our first farmer's market in our new remodeled lot. Was a good day, well attended, good comments from the vendors that were there. We had our second one today. I was there briefly at the beginning, but wasn't able to spend much time down there today. But even more vendors there today, which we were expecting. Some people couldn't make last Monday, so we
Darla,
haven't.
did any of the vendors indicate if they sold more in the new location than they were doing down at the, I just wondered.
I think we have new vendors downtown that maybe weren't
Oh,
vendors in
okay.
the park.
Okay. So there's not a comparison. Okay. I saw a lot more people downtown than I saw at the pavilion.
So if you haven't checked out Farmers Market yet, every Monday, 3 to 7 downtown. Some Mondays we'll have live music. We're going to have a cooking demonstration next Monday. A lot of new things at the Farmers Market. Last Thursday was our first concert in the park. We had Charlie Rieger performing for us, and again, a nice night, and there was a pretty good turnout for that too. So people are getting out and about. This past Saturday, we had our annual Crazy Day celebration all day long. The weather wasn't really good, but I think overall it was well attended. We had over 100 cars in the car show, so that's a pretty good gauge. The car show organizers were very happy with that turnout. And then we kind of wrapped up the day with the UP Garden Tractor pulls down at the end of Delta Avenue. Didn't look like there was a lot of people there, but when you kind of put it all together, it's kind of a 200 feet long track, so there was people, kind of spread out, and we did have 3 sets of bleachers there, and the bleachers were all full, so I think that was a good addition to the day, so.
That's an excellent example of marketing the community, as I said earlier, that we need to market our community more. And I believe the DDA has the wherewithal to do more marketing than they've done. I think the times the DDA has done special events, it's proved that you've gotten traffic downtown. And while it may seem obvious, apparently it's not obvious that traffic is what builds business. And now you have a DDA special events coordinator to help you out with planning these events. And I saw Amber that day, and I congratulate her. I think she did a really nice job, and I think it proves that people will come downtown if there's a reason.
I sold a few of those cards.
Oh, yeah, okay.
New? Years ago.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of marketing, 2 more months, I've been notified by Communities of Distinction. That's our 5-minute production that we have going. In the month of July, it's going to be airing in Toledo, Ohio. In the month of August, it will be in Dayton, Ohio. So we're kind of hitting all over the map of where that's being aired, so that's good. Last year, when I joined the Northern Initiatives Board, there's only 4 board meetings a year, but one of them is a board retreat out of town, and that is scheduled for July 13th, 14th, and 15th. July 14th is our next regular commission meeting. I haven't completely confirmed that I will be at the board retreat because my son has been chosen to be on the 11 and 12-year-old all-star team, so I may be absent from the next commission meeting. I'll keep you posted as that gets closer.
I hope nobody has an issue with that. I think her family life should be more important than missing a commission meeting.
Planning commission meeting tomorrow night, special meeting. Normally they're at the beginning of the month, but we have a couple agenda items if you're free to attend that. I will be gone Wednesday, Thursday, Friday this week out of the state, celebrating 19 years of
Wedded bliss.
wedded bliss.
How did I guess?
What did you say is tomorrow night, Darla?
Planning commission meeting,
Oh, okay, thank you.
That's
our-
at 7 p.m.?
5.
Special?
Planning commission meetings are at 5.
Well, that's their regular meeting time? Oh, I didn't know. It used to be 7. Yeah, I figured that.
Our annual audit has begun. Auditors were here 4 days last week. Might be a couple of them here this week on and off. They'll be back next week, probably for 2 solid weeks. They're usually here at least 3 weeks, so staff spends a good amount of time with the auditors when they're here. Our next big celebration is our 2-day celebration, our annual 4th of July. If you haven't seen the flyer, there's one posted out front. It's on our website. We are bringing back the Ultimate Air Dogs, if you haven't heard by now. The year we didn't, we got phone calls. You need to bring the dogs back. So we're bringing Ultimate Air Dogs back for a 2-day event. So Friday, we start out 8 o'clock in the morning with the Kiwanis Firecracker Run Walk. Lineup for the parade is at 10. Our parade starts at 11. That's confusing every year. We get phone calls all the time. Our grand marshals this year are Tim Barron and the Gladstone High School robotics team. They went all the way to national finals this year, and we're saying how proud we are of our local schools. They have baseball teams that, World Series, they're in the top teams. The Science Olympiads went downstate this year, the robotics team. I'm inviting all of them to walk in our 4th of July parade if they can, or as smaller groups, but we chose the robotics team as the Grand Marshal this year. And our theme is superheroes. So the robotics team are our superheroes. New this year, we're having an apple pie bake-off on July 4th. Kind of being spearheaded by a local group of ladies, E-Gourmet. Details on our website, they're up front here. If you can make an apple pie and you want to put it in the contest, please.
Is that Mrs. Movelson and Mrs. Showquist and all that? Yeah, I thought so.
Showquist,
Yeah, all Lions Club members' wives. That's who it is. I thought so.
We also have the robotics team after the parade will be running a hole-in-one competition, kind of by the Van Cleet, by the big pavilion down
Buckman's
there.
house, I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where the
By
duck
Eric's.
races
Eric's
come in
area.
there.
Yeah.
Yep. So check that out. We're going to have a free throw contest, 3-point competition. Every year we're bringing back the inflatable jumpers, kids games, music throughout the day. Friday night we are having from 7 to 9 tailor made, and then Friday night at dusk will be our fireworks. And then Saturday, July 5th, we bring back the air dogs along with kids games, food vendors. And then we wrap up Saturday night with another new event. It's called A Taste of the Red, White, and Brew. We have beer and wine sampling. It's $10 a person. You get 10 tickets, so you get 10 samples. And then we'll have separate tables if after you sample what you want to go buy a full glass or a full bottle, whatever. And that comes with hors d'oeuvres. So from 6:30 to 9:30, that will be going on, and then music will be playing by Milestone Jazz Trio from 7 to 9. So 2 full days. Come on down to the park. We have a new business to announce. They already, what's, M&C Gun Shop. They are right next to Holiday Gas Station. They've been open for a while with the deer hides and stuff, deer hide processing and sale, but they're looking to expand their business into a gun shop.
Federal firearms dealer, probably.
Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was City Hall hours and our phone system here at City Hall. We get calls saying, you know, when we answer the phone before 9 o'clock, our door opens to the public at 9, but there is staff here before that, and we answer the phone when it rings. And they say, oh, well, I didn't think you're open yet. We're here working, and we're here beyond 3 o'clock working. We answer our phones when they ring, when we're not with another customer or that kind of thing. So there is phone coverage from 7 a.m. till either 4:30 or 5 o'clock.
But for
daily.
clarification, they get an automated, when they call City Hall, they get an
Yeah.
automated directory first.
Right.
They don't get a live human being to pick up
Correct.
the phone.
And the reason we did that is we've been fighting with AT&T in the phone book for several years now. If they could print the correct phone numbers to get the right person the first time, they goofed them all up, and we don't know how it happened or why it happened, but so if you call City Hall and you want to make a payment, you know, choose make a payment, you get directly routed to the cashier to make a payment. Or if you want the city clerk, you get directly routed to the clerk's desk. If she's not there, leave a message. I don't know how to change the perception that people think we're not here.
Well, part of the problem is a lot of times, I'm probably guilty of it sometimes too. As soon as it picks up and it's a machine,
So what your real argument is that you prefer a human being answer the phone as opposed to an answering machine?
always. But that's my opinion.
But even if we did that, I mean, I can't guarantee the phone's gonna be answered when it rings. If we're with a customer, I don't answer my phone. They took the time to come see me. You know, if they can leave a message and we can call them back. I don't know. We kind of did a little poll for other city halls. It's not out of the ordinary to have a phone system, you know, to get the person that you want. And it's not uncommon to have shorter hours, is what we've, not saying that we need to follow what everybody else is doing, but, so we have changed the initial message. It no longer says we're open 9 to 3, because that's not true. We are here and by appointment at any time.
Commission retains ultimate say over what happens, so. Could direct something different be done.
No, we don't have a receptionist, I mean, that's extra cost.
We don't have a receptionist.
No, obviously not.
We have a cashier, we have a utility billing clerk, we have a treasurer, we have a community development director, we have a clerk, we have a city manager, we have an assessor that's once a week, maybe.
Tuesdays.
And we have a special events coordinator. I don't know her schedule. I know she's very part-time.
Yep.
One day a week, maybe.
Well, it's 3 days a week, but, you know,
You're
farmer's
at it.
market, she's down there, you know.
You told me
she
today, though, that she doesn't pick up the phone at City Hall. It's not part of
No,
her job.
she doesn't have a desk.
Right.
She's kind of in a corner until her office
And I was
gets
under
done
the
up,
assumption she
down at
was
the
helping
DDA.
answer the phone at City Hall, which isn't the case.
And then we all have our cell phones published, and we answer them as well, too. customers, staff.
Darla, if I can ask you this question, are you getting any complaints that we're not responding back to the individuals if they have to leave a message?
Not that I'm hearing. I know Angel at Public Safety has said, you know, when people call City Hall and we don't answer, they know she'll answer the phone. She's at Public Safety. But I don't know why they call Public Safety, because Angel can't help them make a payment or get an absentee ballot or, you know.
Angel just recently went to full-time.
Correct.
She used to be, what, 9 to 2 or 3? Something like that.
Could the system hook to Angel and from Public Safety Building?
Our buildings are not connected.
I know, but that doesn't mean the phone system couldn't be.
I believe we would need a hard wire connecting the buildings to have them.
I'm not a, what did we use, Charter?
We are just changing from AT&T for the phones at City Hall to Charter for the phone
Is
system.
Public Safety Charter also then? Mm-hmm. Well, then Charter could connect it. They have wires. Everywhere.
For a fee.
I don't know, it might be cheaper than hiring if it's a problem, which for me it's not a problem, I dial 428-2311 and
Well, as far as Angel picking up the phone for City Hall, I don't guess Angel would want to take that responsibility on, am I?
Well, I guess, I mean,
It's not in the
from the outside
building.
looking in, playing devil's advocate, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals that are, excluding the city manager and the assessor, that are in City Hall on a regular basis, and there's 1 at Public Safety. And Public Safety does not have an answering. Granted, they probably don't have the volume of calls that City
Right.
Hall has, I give you that. But just an observation. I mean, it's I was made aware that calls are being, sent over to Public Safety that they can't get through, or they've left messages and didn't get responded to, and they call back to Public Safety hours later, still hadn't heard back. So it's obviously incumbent upon me to ask the question.
Ultimately, the city commission decides what's going to happen.
Well, I think we all like to speak to a person. I mean, I think everyone can say that. Whether or not you get the individual you want, whether you call an automated system or a receptionist, that probably won't change. Because, I mean, you're being directed to the individual that you're requesting, and if that person's available, they'll answer. If they're not available, you leave a message and they'll get back. So I don't know where that part changes, other than the fact you're talking to a human being rather than a machine.
That's the only difference.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that, again, like I said, a lot of times if I'm calling someplace and I don't, automated, I don't talk to machines. So it's
So
just the
how
way
do you
it is.
find your information then?
It all depends. If it's a business that if I'm looking for a business to do business with and I call and it's, I'm familiar with what goes on here. I know all of your extensions, off the top of my head, but it's because I use it regularly. But for someone that's not used to it, they would think, they may assume that we're just closed. And then they call back at noon and, well, how can they still be closed? It's noon. They don't understand it. So if I'm looking to do business with an organization, I call and there's not a human that answers the phone, I'm not doing business with them. They don't have something that bad, that I need that bad, that somebody else doesn't have that will answer the phone, so.
Anything else?
Bay College has a combination system. You dial, you call, they give you numbers of people, extension numbers of people, and then finally after all of that, they say if you hold on the line, someone will answer. So that eliminates a lot of the calls that the person has to answer, but eventually there's someone there to answer. Or if you punch O right away, 0 right away, they answer.
I was gonna say, that's one of the other things I do as soon as if I have to get through, as soon as I start hearing some machine talking, I keep hitting 0 until, hold on, please.
Well,
So,
I guess I need to know, do you want the phone answered when people call and turn the Audix system off?
You've been asked a question, gentlemen.
think the way we do it now is fine, but I don't call City Hall very often, so.
I'm okay with the way it's set up, personally.
I'm not, because there's a complaint. When there's a complaint, that means that somebody is not feeling the system is delivering to their needs. And it's all part of what my theme was tonight of marketing. And so I think if
Go ahead.
if that's what's happening, somebody is upset, and you're hearing the complaints. You're the one that.
And I think in light of the fact that we just decided to increase the tax levied, I think we can answer the phone. That's just, I don't think that the volume of calls are to the level that, I mean, I don't have any data to support either side. I don't, I don't have a sheet that tells me how many calls are coming in and how many voicemail. I don't have any of that data. But with the limited amount of data that I do have, I would like to see the phones answered.
Okay.
The one question I have though is, if everyone else is out to lunch and there's just a utility person up there, and people are in line, are you just going to tell people to hold on the phone? Because no
The
one
phone
likes
will
to
not
do
get
that.
answered. The people in
Right.
person will get waited on.
Right. So,
Yep.
yeah,
We can't all be gone to lunch at the same time, though.
Okay.
We kind of stagger our lunches and,
Well, and that's common. I mean, it's.
Can I interject one thing? When we switched to this new automated system, it was because we were fielding a lot of calls. We used to, if say Vicky wasn't at her desk and her phone rang, it would kick over to a line, and we just kind of watched, and if it didn't get answered, we'd answer it. And what happened was we had a lot of people who were frustrated that they were getting a person who couldn't answer their question, and we'd still have to put them through to voicemail. And that was one of the main reasons why we switched to that. Number one, it was wasting my time taking a message for another person who wasn't available. And two, it was making the person on the other end of the line mad because they waited to talk to a person that couldn't answer their question. So that's when we switched. I mean, that was one of the big reasons that we did switch that. And there are some people who are more routinely gone and some people who more routinely get questions that are just most of all of our questions. As I look down the line, only one person can handle those answers. There's not, with the exception of maybe Kim and I, because Kim knows zoning because she used to do the job, and then I pick up for her. I'm kind of her assistant on the elections, so we can kind of cross-reference, and I would say Darla and Vicky can kind of cross some of their things because of they've both been the treasurer. But for the most part, if you need a building permit, nobody else in this line is going to be able to handle that except for me. And, that's why we went to that automated system, leave a message, and then as soon as I'm available, I get back to you. And in my department, I've not had people complain about phone calls not getting returned. I have had people complain. Just Thursday, actually, met a guy. Mike was here, but we both met him, and he said, "You don't answer your phone." And I said, "Well, I do answer my phone if I'm available. Did you leave a message?" And he said, "Well, no, I didn't leave a message." And, as we're sitting there talking with him for 20 minutes, the phone can ring twice, but when you have a customer in front of you, you have to let that phone go. And, and that's what I try to explain to people: leave a message, and I try to get back within a day or two. Quicker if I can, but
I think that's one of the problems. I don't see any reason why you can't get back to them the same day.
well, if I'm not here,
Oh, I
I mean,
understand
that's what I
that,
mean.
but-
I do get back to it that day if I can, but
Yeah.
worst case scenario, I might be gone for 2 days, or,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't usually get more than 2 days off in a row, but
Fine enough you're not here, but
people don't know that on the other end. And that's what we can change our message to say. If we're gone more than a day, we tend to leave it. More than 2 days, definitely, we leave a message saying we'll return on this day. We do have where we can check our emails on our phones. Most of the department heads do, so we check those, but we don't have a way to check the voicemails on the phone. But,
Well, I guess the way I would structure it is if the utility billing clerk and the cashier would be your people that alternated answering the phones and direct the calls to where they need to go. That's how I would do it. You know,
they tend to have the most people standing in front of their desks, though, also. So, but I mean, that's what we see on a daily basis.
And Cindy's
Cindy's
only
gonna
here
have
9 to 3.
the line. Patty would be the next, yeah. I get what you're saying. I love talking to a person too, but I don't.
well, you said that people got irritated when they called previously and they didn't get right to the person that they wanted that could answer their question. Okay. Did we get complaints about that before, though?
We did, that's why,
Okay,
that was
so
one of
now
the
we're-
reasons why
now
we
we're getting-
switched to that system.
Now we're getting complaints. Now we get complaints because people, they hear a voicemail and they just hang up the phone because they
Right.
think we're not
Nobody
here.
likes automation. I'm not denying that. Nobody loves it. It did free up time for the staff that were here to do their jobs. I mean, I visibly noticed I'm spending a lot less time explaining, somebody's not here, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you gotta take a message, do you wanna leave a voicemail? No, I wanna leave this message with you. You gotta write it down, you gotta get it to the person, you gotta track them down.
Well, that's internal workings.
Yep.
I can't take a message where I'm not the receptionist, but I can send you their voicemail. That way you don't have to,
I tell you, I have the same opinion of Commissioner Gay. I won't even fool with the system anymore. I just send a text message. It's generally gonna be to the city manager, and it gets answered that way. Because I don't like fooling around with a telephone listening to a pre-programmed set of instructions. That just is annoying to me.
I guess the way I'm looking at it right now, we just voted to increase the mills 1.8. I think we can answer the phone. I'd put that in the form of a motion if need be. It's not a very,
I'm playing Kim here.
that's not a very,
Can we make a
I
motion
don't-
with something not on the
I
agenda?
don't even know if we need to make a motion on that.
I think it's a recommendation,
I think-
maybe.
I don't think it's a motionable item. I think it's a direction from the commission to the city manager to implement their staff. If it's a consensus of the commission. I can go down the line and ask Commissioner Nemechek if you think that's advisable.
I think we should give it a try.
Commissioner
Nothing has
Bostrick?
to be cast in stone.
Commissioner Bostrick?
Yeah, I guess we could try it.
Commissioner Gay, of course. We know you mean. Commissioner Mattinen?
I'm okay either way.
I'd like to give it a shot as well, so. Seems-
I'd definitely be open to, if in a month this is just not working out, if provide some sort of data that we can justify it going back the other route. But I think that in light of the amount of people in here right now and what we've done, I think we can make our best effort to answer the phone.
They have no idea about the call volume or anything else.
We don't, no.
So
If we
maybe by the next.
if we had data, we could probably make a better decision. We're maybe shooting in the dark a little bit right now, but at least try to address it and see what happens.
It's a concern you felt it was important enough to bring up at the public meeting.
Yep.
That's everything for the city manager's report, city commission and committee reports, and board and commission reports, unless there's something from the commission that you would like to report under those items.
I ran into the sheriff today. He said, I believe there's a meeting tomorrow.
He wasn't working today.
No, he was off. I ran into him at the gas station.
I spoke with the
Said
other
he had to
sheriff.
take a day off to
Yes.
to mow the grass or something. He was fueling up the. But I believe it looks pretty positive on the movement on the county jail. I believe he said there was a meeting tomorrow. I hadn't heard of one. There was
Me
another
neither.
meeting of some sort, but they are moving
At a
forward.
significantly lower cost.
It appears as though yes.
Are they gonna utilize the building by the college?
That's the plan.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I believe he said that,
Mostly empty right
I
now.
believe he said that building's paid off also right now. So the dollar amount, the figure that was going towards that previously can now, be utilized to, for the build-outs or?
They were talking like $30 million to build a new jail, which would require a fairly significant debt levy over the next 20 years or whatever, and this whole new plan is far less cost and nowhere near the kind of debt levy, so.
Yep.
All right, moving on, is there any public comment? We go to the public twice. None, hearing none. City Commissioner comments, we'll start with Commissioner Nemechek.
No additional comments.
Commissioner Bostrick.
I just wanted to congratulate the Gladstone baseball team for making to the semifinals and for the girls softball team for winning the state finals. And what was it? Last Thursday, or was it 2 Thursdays ago, that went to the WPPI dinner and had a good meeting and learned some stuff, so I guess that's it.
Commissioner Gay.
I have nothing tonight.
Commissioner Matlin.
Yeah, just one item. I had attended the MML regional conference in St. Ignace, and a very good conference. They all are. There was an interesting thing that they were giving us more information on in March, when I think it was March or April, we were at the legislative conference. They brought up, and you may have seen it on some of the email stuff coming out of MML. They talk about crowdfunding, and what it is Michigan's just put this into to law basically here, and it's a relatively new idea. In fact, I don't think they do it anywhere else in the country, but it allows the private citizens or anyone in a community to invest in a local business just like you would in the stock market. And there's limitations to how much money you can put in it, but they had given us some examples of some of this, what's happened early this spring in some communities around the Lower Peninsula specifically. And there seems to be a lot of interest in this in local communities, investing in local businesses, new or ongoing businesses to invest, to grow. And anyway, I think this is something that maybe the DDA might would like to see some information or maybe get a presentation on, because I could see them as kind of the lead organization with this.
Absolutely.
And, kind of a neat idea, because if someone has an extra maybe $5,000 or whatever, $500, and they may be interested in maybe a local business starting and they want to invest, they can invest, and it's
So if you were to surf the MML website, you'd find something about crowdfunding,
crowdfunding.
which
yeah.
could be brought to our next DDA board meeting.
Mhm.
What's it called?
It's crowdfunding.
Crowd?
Crowdfunding. CROWD funding. And I do have quite a bit of information, but rather than to get into a lot of detail right now, I just thought I'd just, give you that much information. I'll take the information I have, I'll give it to the city and the DDA. When is the next DDA meeting, actually?
July 8th?
July 8th.
July
It's a
8th.
Tuesday, right?
Yep.
You would be welcome if you want to get up early. Being
Yeah.
a retired guy, I know it's probably hard for you to do.
I still get up at 4:45, so,
Oh, okay.
but I do go back to sleep.
I'm talking about actually getting out of bed, putting
Yeah.
clothes on, coming to a meeting. I'm not talking
July
about
8th.
rolling over and saying,
And that
it's
was
5:15.
7 a.m. or
8 a.m.
8 a.m.
You know the half interesting part about that, I used to give talks to schools, colleges on the free enterprise system. That's nothing more than the corporation selling shares of stock. And, you can do
Sure.
a corporation on the internet. If you got a great idea, sell shares of stock. I mean,
Sure.
that's been around for a long time. I understand what you're saying, it's a different, but it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, this gets away from a lot of the red tape in a sense. It makes it real simple to do this.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, if you invest in something, your money is at risk. You don't know if that
Sure.
business is going to
Right.
go or float.
Right.
So, but I thought it was interesting because people in the local community, when a new business starts up, they want to see it successful. And if you put money into something, you're going to patronize that business, correct? And you're going to tell your friends about it. And I
Yeah.
think it can be, in a community, it could be kind of a neat thing.
I
But
understand.
anyway, I kind of like the idea. And it seems to be taken off with some success in a relatively short period of time. But that's all I had.
One thing I'd like to mention tonight is we have 3 members of Gladstone Lions Club here tonight. One of our Lions members is Jim Anderson, who's also been an EDC board member for, I guess, at least 15 years. And his grandson was killed tragically in an accident last night, so I'd ask for prayers for the Anderson family. Having nothing else, we have executive session, which we need a roll call vote to go into executive session.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Bostwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Matenin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nemechek,
Yes.
Mayor Mackey.
Yes. I'll go into executive session. We will be out if you want to wait for us. If not, have a good evening. You're adjourned right now.